Now, before we call it a day, it would be great if we could have just one final word from the director, Robert Stone, who is still with us. As you probably heard, Sweden has been a divided country for like 40 years on the issue of nuclear power, and it remains to be seen if your movie can change that in some way. But I think before we break it up, it would be great if you could just give some final word of advice to our Swedish decision makers, because they disagree very much, and well, it needs some straightening out, I think.
Well, it's not for me to give advice. I would say to those of you in the audience who feel, as I do, that this is a conversation that we need to continue, whatever your perspective on this, the film will be available on iTunes on December 10th. So tell your friends, have a screening party, and spread the word on that. I'd like to say something about costs, because that's been a big issue here. The cost thing is obviously a key thing, because we're not going to do anything without bringing down the costs. It's worth noting that in the United States today, where we've got 100 nuclear reactors, nuclear-generated electricity is the cheapest source of electricity we have, because the plants have been paid off, fuel costs are very low, operating costs are very low. One of the problems that we have in calculating the costs of nuclear power is in factoring the long time frame of the power plant. So for instance, the Hinkley C plant that's going up in Britain right now, where there's been a lot of stuff in the press about the cost, that's only factoring in, those costs are based on a 35-year lifespan, when we know that the plant is probably going to last 80, maybe longer, 80 years. So, but these are things that are difficult for businesses in a capitalist society to factor in that kind of long time frame. So even what we have today is cost-effective over the long run. And if you look at France, which really made it the biggest bet in the world on nuclear energy, they have the lowest electricity rates in Europe. And the other thing, I know the plant in Finland is always held up as, you know, an example of everything that's gone wrong. It was the most crazy cost overruns in the history of the world. Yet, there's a recent study done that shows that that plant, even costing, what is it, 16 billion euros? It's something, it's astronomical. Even at that rate, over the amount of electricity that thing will produce over the course of a lifetime, the electricity will be 4 times cheaper than German solar. So it is extraordinary. But what we need to do, we need to move ahead with 4th generation reactors that can be produced modularly using off-the-shelf technology, where the inherent safety in them makes them cheaper, because you don't need the redundant safety systems, because the physics of them are safe. And we need to start, I think the model is to churn these things out the way we do commercial jet aircraft, which are highly complex technologies, heavily regulated, market competition, and you turn these things out, you know, mass produced. It's interesting to point out, it was just told me the other day, we have built in the world one pretty fair-sized hydroelectric dam every day for the last 50 years. That's extraordinary, but we've done it. There's a lot of us. We can do a lot of things very quickly if we put our minds to it. But mass production, standardization of components is the way to enhance both safety and bring down cost. So it can be done. I'm optimistic that it can be done. We just lack the political will at the moment to actually do it.
Thank you very much, Robert Stone.